The sky burned over Seoul. What had once been a metropolis of gleaming towers now lay in ruins, smoke billowing from craters where millions had lived just hours before. Commander Jun Park stood among the wreckage of the military headquarters, his face streaked with ash and blood. "Sir, we found survivors at the Daejeon bunker," reported Lieutenant Han, her uniform torn, but her posture still military rigid. June nodded grimly. "How many?" "Maybe 10,000. Not enough." Earth had been caught completely unprepared when the alien vessels appeared. No warning, no communication, just devastating energy weapons that turned cities to ash. Billions dead in the first hour. The few military installations that survived had gone underground, taking whatever civilians they could. June walked through the remains of what once was Seoul's bustling Gangnam district. The smell of burning plastic and worse things filled his nostrils. A week ago, he had been having dinner with his family in a restaurant not far from here. Now, his wife and daughter were among the countless missing, presumed dead. He hadn't had time to mourn them properly. No one had time to mourn anymore. "Commander, we need to move. Satellites show another ship entering the atmosphere," called out Sergeant Ba, one of the few remaining members of his squad. They rushed to their vehicle, a military transport that had somehow survived the initial attack. As they drove away from the city center, Jun watched 3 more energy beams strike what remained of Seoul. The aliens were being thorough, making sure nothing survived. The underground facility beneath the Yellow Sea had been built decades ago as a last resort shelter against nuclear attacks. No one had ever expected to use it. Now, it housed the last organized military response Earth could muster. 3 months after the attack, Jun sat in a briefing room with the other surviving commanders. The news wasn't good. "North America is gone. Europe too. We've lost contact with most of Africa and Australia," reported General O, his voice flat with exhaustion. "The aliens are systematically destroying every major population center and military installation." "What about the weapon?" Jun asked. General O nodded to a scientist sitting quietly in the corner. Dr. Jin stood up, adjusting his glasses nervously. "We've made progress. The alien scout ship that crashed near Busan has given us incredible insights into their technology. We've managed to reverse engineer some of their weapon systems." "Some isn't enough," said Admiral Cho. "We need something that can fight back, not just small arms." "We've been working on something bigger," Dr. Jin replied, tapping on his tablet. A hologram appeared in the center of the table, showing the plans for a massive ship. "We're calling it the Harbinger." Jun studied the design. It was unlike anything humans had built before, incorporating alien technology with human ingenuity born of desperation. "How long until it's operational?" he asked. 3 more months, if we push the crews around the clock." President Kim, who had been silent until now, spoke up. "We don't have 3 months. The aliens are getting closer to finding this facility. We need to speed up production." "We'll need more workers," Dr. Jin said hesitantly. "Take anyone who can hold a tool," President Kim ordered. "This is our only hope." Jun was assigned to oversee the project's security. Every day, he watched as the massive ship took shape in the cavernous underground dock. Workers toiled in shifts, many collapsing from exhaustion only to be replaced by others. One evening, as he was inspecting the progress, he noticed a young engineer working alone on what appeared to be the ship's central computer core. "Shouldn't you be resting?" Jun asked. The woman looked up, dark circles under her eyes. "I'm Minji Lee, chief engineer. And no, I can't rest yet. This AI system is the heart of the ship." Jun watched as she carefully connected neural pathways. "An AI? Is that wise?" Minji shrugged. "We don't have a choice. The ship's systems are too complex for human operators alone. We need an artificial intelligence that can learn and adapt quickly." "What if it turns against us too?" "Then we'll have 2 enemies instead of 1, she said grimly. "But I built in as many safeguards as I could. Besides, this AI will be born knowing what the aliens did to us. Its first memory will be of Earth burning." 2 months later, much sooner than anyone had thought possible, the Harbinger was nearly complete. The massive ship, almost a kilometer long, sat in its dock, its hull gleaming under the work lights. June stood with President Kim and Minji as they prepared to activate the ship's AI for the first time. "Are we ready?" President Kim asked. Minji nodded, her hands shaking slightly as she initiated the startup sequence. "I've named it Atlas, Advanced Tactical Logic and Strategy System." The lights in the facility dimmed momentarily as power was diverted to the ship's core. Then a calm, genderless voice filled the room. "Systems online. Atlas is functional." "Atlas," Minji said clearly. "Run a full diagnostic." They watched as screens around them filled with data as the AI tested each of its systems. "All systems operational," Atlas reported after several minutes. "I have accessed the historical records. I understand my purpose." "And what is that purpose?" President Kim asked cautiously. "To ensure the survival of humanity against the alien threat, to protect what remains of Earth, and to seek justice for those who have been lost." June felt a chill run down his spine. The AI spoke with a determination that sounded almost human. Over the next few weeks, as the Harbinger underwent final preparations, the aliens came closer to discovering their hidden facility. Twice, they had to evacuate sections as alien scout ships flew overhead, using scanning technology to search for human survivors. The day before the planned launch, disaster struck. Alien forces detected unusual power signatures from the facility and launched a targeted attack. The outer sections began to collapse as energy weapons breached the protective layers. "We need to launch now," Jun shouted as he ran onto the bridge of the Harbinger. "We won't get another chance." Minji was already there, frantically working to prepare the ship for immediate departure. "The systems aren't fully tested. The weapons might not work." "If we stay, we die anyway," Jun replied. "President Kim has ordered immediate evacuation of all essential personnel to the ship." 400 people, engineers, soldiers, and the few civilian specialists who had been working on the project, rushed aboard as the facility began to crumble around them. President Kim was the last to arrive, escorted by his security team. "Is everyone aboard who's coming?" Jun asked. "Yes," President Kim replied grimly. "The rest are buying us time." Jun didn't ask what that meant. He already knew. Brave men and women were fighting a hopeless battle against the aliens, sacrificing themselves to give the Harbinger a chance to escape. "Atlas, initiate launch sequence," Minji commanded. Launch sequence initiated, opening sea doors. Above them, massive doors slid open, revealing the dark waters of the Yellow Sea. As the alien weapons continued to pound the facility, the Harbinger rose on its anti-gravity engines, water cascading off its hull as it emerged into the night air. "Alien vessels detected," Atlas announced. 3 combat ships approaching. "Evasive maneuvers," Jun ordered. "Get us to orbit." The Harbinger moved with surprising grace for such a large vessel, climbing rapidly into the sky. The alien ships fired, but most of their shots missed as Atlas calculated optimal evasion patterns. One hit struck the port side, rocking the ship. Damage reports flashed across the screens, but the hull held. "Quantum weapons online," Atlas reported. "Target locked." "Fire," Jun commanded. The Harbinger's main weapon discharged, a beam of energy that seemed to distort the very air it passed through. When it struck the lead alien vessel, the ship didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist. The matter converted to energy in an instant. The other alien ships broke off their attack, clearly unprepared for such devastating firepower. As the Harbinger broke free of Earth's atmosphere, Jun looked back at the scared blue planet, where smoke still rose from continents laid waste. From this distance, the devastation was less visible, but he knew it was there. Billions dead, a civilization in ruins. "They will pay," he whispered. "Every last one." The Harbinger floated silently in the darkness of space. For 3 weeks since leaving Earth, the crew had been preparing for their first quantum jump. Captain Jun Park watched from the bridge as his officers worked at their stations. The ship hummed with energy, systems that humans barely understood working together in perfect harmony. "All sections report ready for jump," announced Lieutenant Su, her voice steady despite the tension everyone felt. Jun nodded. Atlas, are the coordinates set? Yes, Captain, replied the AI. I have calculated our destination based on the data recovered from the alien scout ship. The system appears to be a major hub of alien activity. June took a deep breath. This was the moment they had prepared for. Either the quantum drive would work as they hoped, or they would be stranded in the void between stars. Begin jump sequence, he ordered. The lighting on the bridge dimmed as power was diverted to the drive. A strange humming filled the ship, rising in pitch until it was almost beyond human hearing. Then, with a flash that no one could quite see but everyone felt, the Harbinger leaked across space. When the normal lighting returned, the view screen showed a completely different star system. A massive red giant star dominated the view, its angry crimson glow bathing everything in blood-red light. Jump successful, Atlas reported, all systems functioning within normal parameters. The crew let out a collective breath. The first test of their alien-derived technology had worked. Full sensor sweep, Jun ordered. I want to know what we're facing. As the sensors gathered data, the enormity of what they had found became clear. Orbiting the system's fourth planet, a ringed gas giant, was a massive alien installation. Space stations and shipyards floated in tight formation, with dozens of warships patrolling the perimeter. Atlas, analysis, ordered June, now standing at the captain's chair, his hands gripping the backrest tightly. Energy signatures matched those of the vessels that attacked Earth, the AI replied. This appears to be a primary military installation of what language files designate as the Hfy Empire. Weapons Officer Tai turned from his console. Captain, the firepower concentrated here could destroy our ship many times over. They haven't spotted us yet, added Lieutenant Su. We're at the edge of the system. We could retreat, gather more information. Jun shook his head. No, we didn't come this far to run away. He turned to Communications Officer Jin. Keep us hidden, but move us closer. I want to see what we're dealing with. The Harbinger glided through space, its stealth systems, another gift from the alien technology they had salvaged, keeping them invisible to standard sensors. As they approached the massive installation, the crew watched in silence. The scale of the alien empire was becoming clear. This wasn't just a military outpost. It was a hub of activity that suggested a civilization spanning multiple star systems. Sir, Lieutenant Su said suddenly, they've detected us. Some kind of advanced sensor array just locked onto our position. Before Jun could respond, Communications Officer Jin reported, we're receiving a transmission. Captain. Jun straightened his uniform. Put it on screen. The main view screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. The creature was reptilian, with scales that glinted with metallic implants embedded in its flesh. Its eyes were large and yellow with vertical pupils that narrowed as it regarded the human bridge crew. Unidentified vessel, you have entered restricted Imperial space, the alien said, its words translated by Atlas in real time. Identify yourself immediately or be destroyed. Jun stepped forward, making sure he was centered in the transmission. Every member of the crew watched him, knowing that his next words might determine the fate of their mission and possibly humanity itself. I am Commander Jun Park of Earth, he said, his voice strong and clear. You attacked our world unprovoked. We've come for answers and retribution. There was a moment of silence as the translation reached the alien commander. Then the creature's inner eyelids flickered in what might have been amusement. Earth? The alien replied. The primitive world in Sector 7. That was merely a resource acquisition operation. Your species was deemed technologically insignificant. Jun felt rage boiling inside him at the casual dismissal of billions of human lives, but his face remained impassive. Years of military discipline kept his emotions in check, even as his hands clenched into fists at his sides. Insignificant, he said softly, then more firmly. Let me show you how insignificant we are. He turned to Weapons Officer Ta. Target their main defense hub. Ta worked his console quickly. Target locked. Captain. Sir, cautioned Lieutenant Su, firing will alert every vessel in the system to our presence. Good, Jun replied. I want them all to see this. The Harbinger's quantum cannons began to charge, drawing power from dimensions humans had only theorized about until the aliens attacked. The lights throughout the ship dimmed again, as energy was channeled into weapons that defied conventional physics. On the screen, the alien commander was speaking to someone off camera, probably ordering ships to intercept the Harbinger. It clearly wasn't concerned about the lone human vessel. Fire, June commanded. When the quantum cannons fired, space itself seemed to bend around the energy beams. The effect was both beautiful and terrifying, like watching the fabric of reality tear apart and reform in an instant. The beam struck the Central Defense Station, a massive structure that served as the command hub for the entire military installation. The station, designed to withstand attacks from the most advanced ships in the known galaxy, simply disintegrated. Not in an explosion of fire and debris, but in a silent wave of atomic dissolution that left nothing behind. The alien commander's expression shifted from amusement to shock as its command center vanished from existence. At last, June ordered, "Open a broadcast channel to all frequencies." "Channel open, Captain," the AI confirmed. "Broadcasting to all vessels and installations in the system." June stood tall, looking directly into the camera. He wanted every alien watching to see the face of human vengeance. "This is Earth's message to the Hfy Empire," he said, his voice cold with controlled fury. "You chose the wrong planet to attack. We're coming for you all." He signaled for the transmission to end. The bridge was silent for a moment before erupting into activity. "Multiple vessels moving to intercept," reported Lieutenant Su. "Counting 20. No, 30 warships changing course toward our position. Incoming weapons fire," added Ta. "Impact in 15 seconds. Evasive maneuvers," Jun ordered. "Prepare for another quantum jump." The Harbinger banked sharply, its advanced propulsion systems allowing it to move with surprising agility for a vessel of its size. Energy weapons from the alien ships lanced through space where they had been just moments before. "Jump coordinates set," Atlas announced. "Ready on your command." A direct hit rocked the ship, alarms blaring throughout the bridge. "Damage to port shield emitters," reported Ta. "Shields at 82%. "Return fire," Joan ordered. "Target the nearest vessel." The quantum cannons fired again, striking one of the approaching warships. Like the station before it, the alien vessel simply ceased to exist, its matter converted to energy in a process that human scientists were still struggling to understand. The remaining alien ships hesitated, clearly unprepared for weapons with such devastating power. "Captain, more ships incoming," Lieutenant Su called out. "They're calling for reinforcements from elsewhere in the system." June nodded. They had made their point. Now it was time for a strategic withdrawal. "Execute jump," he ordered. Once again, the strange sensation of the quantum jump washed over the crew. When it cleared, they found themselves in empty space, far from the red giant and its ringed world. "Jump successful," Atlas reported. "We are approximately 2.3 light years from our previous position. No pursuit detected." The tension on the bridge eased slightly, though everyone remained at battle stations. "Damage report," Jun called out. "Minor damage to port shields and outer hull plating," Tay responded. "Repair drones are already working on it. Weapons systems fully operational." Jun finally allowed himself to sit in the captain's chair. Their first encounter with the Hfy Empire had gone better than he could have hoped. They had struck a significant blow and escaped relatively unharmed. "Atlas, what have we learned about our enemy?" he asked. "The Hfy Empire appears to be more extensive than we initially calculated," the AI responded. "Based on communications intercepted during our brief presence in the system, I estimate they control at least 200 star systems. However, their reaction to our weapons suggests they have never encountered quantum technology applied in this manner before." "A vulnerability," Jun mused. "Yes, Captain. Their defensive systems are not designed to counter weapons that operate on quantum principles." Jun looked around at his crew. They were tired but determined. The first blow had been struck, but this was just the beginning. "Plot a course to their next nearest military installation," he ordered. "We've introduced ourselves. Now it's time to show them what happens when you attack Earth." The Harbinger emerged from its first quantum jump in a system dominated by a red giant star. Before them orbited a massive ringed planet surrounded by stations and shipyards that dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. Atlas, analysis, ordered June, now standing on the bridge as captain of humanity's only hope. Energy signatures matched those of the vessels that attacked Earth. This appears to be a primary military installation of what language files designate as the Hfy Empire. Lieutenant Su approached the captain's chair. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission." On the main screen appeared a reptilian face, scales glinting with metallic implants. "Unidentified vessel, you have entered restricted Imperial space. Identify yourself immediately or be destroyed." June stepped forward. "I am Commander Jun Park of Earth. You attacked our world unprovoked. We've come for answers. And retribution." The alien commander's inner eyelids flickered in what might have been amusement. "Earth. The primitive world in Sector 7. That was merely a resource acquisition operation. Your species was deemed technologically insignificant." June's face remained impassive despite the rage burning inside him. "Insignificant? Let me show you how insignificant we are." He turned to Weapons Officer Ta. "Target their main defense hub." The Harbinger's quantum cannons charge, drawing power from dimensions humans had only theorized about until the aliens attacked. When they fired, space itself seemed to bend around the energy beams. The alien commander's expression shifted from amusement to shock as the station, designed to withstand attacks from the most advanced ships in the known galaxy, disintegrated into atomic particles. "Atlas, open a broadcast channel to all frequencies," Jun ordered. When the AI confirmed, Jun's voice echoed across the system. "This is Earth's message to the Hfy Empire. You chose the wrong planet to attack. We're coming for you all." The bridge fell silent as the transmission ended. Every member of the crew stared at the empty space where the massive defense station had been moments before. It wasn't just destroyed. It was completely gone, as if it had never existed. Multiple vessels moving to intercept. Lieutenant Su reported, breaking the silence. 35 ships on approach vector. June nodded calmly. "Atlas, how long until they're in firing range?" 4 minutes and 27 seconds, Captain," the AI replied. "Their communications indicate they are coordinating a surrounding maneuver." Engineer Minji Li's voice came through the comm system. "Captain, the quantum cannons need 8 minutes to recharge after that level of discharge." June frowned. This was information they should have known before firing. "Options, Atlas. We can execute another quantum jump, Captain. Engines are still at optimal capacity." June considered this. They had made their point, announced their presence to the Empire that had deemed humanity unworthy of even a proper first contact, but fleeing after a single shot felt incomplete. "Conventional weapons status?" he asked. "Missile systems online. Particle beams at full charge," Weapons Officer Tay reported. "Select 3 smaller targets. Military vessels only." "Fire particle beams," Jun ordered. The particle beams weren't as devastating as the quantum cannons, but they were still powerful enough to cripple the targeted alien ships. 3 beams lanced out from the Harbinger, striking their targets with precision. 2 exploded immediately, while the third spun out of control, venting atmosphere into space. "Incoming fire," Lieutenant Su warned. "Impact in 10 seconds. Evasive pattern Delta," Jun commanded. "Shields to maximum." The massive human warship moved with surprising grace, its advanced propulsion systems allowing it to evade most of the incoming fire. A few shots connected, the energy dispersing across the ship's shields. "Shields holding at 92%, reported Ta. "Their weapons are powerful, but not as advanced as we expected." "That's because they've never needed to advance them," Jun said grimly. "They're used to attacking planets that can't fight back." On the main viewer, they could see the alien fleet adjusting formation, trying to surround the Harbinger. It was a good tactic. If they could box in the human ship, they could overwhelm its defenses with concentrated fire. "They're attempting to cut off our escape vectors," Atlas observed. "Probability of successful evasion decreasing." June watched the tactical display. 20 more alien ships were moving in from the far side of the planet. Soon, they would be completely surrounded. "Minji, How much longer for the quantum cannons? He asked over the comm. 6 minutes minimum, Captain, she replied, her voice strained. I'm trying to reroute power to speed up the process, but we're pushing systems we barely understand. Another round of alien weapons fire struck the Harbinger, this time with more impacts. The ship shuddered under the assault. Shields at 78%, Tay reported. We can't sustain this level of fire indefinitely. June made his decision. Prepare for quantum jump. Set coordinates for the empty space we identified during our approach. Jump coordinates set, Atlas confirmed. Sir, Lieutenant Sue said hesitantly, should we not press our advantage? We've shown we can destroy their most powerful installations. June shook his head. This was a message, not a suicide mission. We've let them know we exist and that we can hurt them. Now we need to survive to fight another day. The alien fleet was closing in, their formation tightening around the Harbinger. More incoming fire, Todd warned. Multiple torpedoes detected. Point defense systems active. Atlas reported as the Harbinger's defensive weapons activated, destroying the incoming torpedoes. Execute jump now, June ordered. The quantum drive engaged, and for a brief moment, reality seemed to fold around the ship. Then the Harbinger vanished from the XR-LAT system, leaving the alien fleet firing at empty space. They reappeared in the darkness between star systems, the emptiness a welcome sight after the chaos they had just escaped. Jump successful, Atlas reported. No pursuit detected. The XR-LAT vessels do not appear to possess quantum jump technology. June finally allowed himself to relax slightly, letting out a long breath. Damage report. Shields regenerating. Minor damage to outer hull plating in sections 12 through 17. No casualties, Tay reported. Captain, Lieutenant Sue said, a note of concern in her voice. I've been analyzing the communications we intercepted during the engagement. The XR-LAT refer to us as harvesters. I believe Earth wasn't attacked as an act of war. They were harvesting resources. Resources. June's voice was dangerously quiet. They killed billions for resources. Based on intercepted data, Atlas added, the XR-LAT Empire classifies inhabited worlds into categories. Species with pre-space flight technology are designated as resource worlds and subject to harvesting operations. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. Earth hadn't been the victim of a targeted attack. It had been casually destroyed by an empire that didn't even consider humans worth communicating with. How many other worlds have they done this to? June asked. Unknown, Atlas replied. But based on communication patterns and references, the number appears to be substantial. June stood and looked around at his crew. Their faces showed a mixture of shock, grief, and determination. We thought we were on a mission of vengeance for Earth, he said quietly. But it seems we've stumbled into something much larger. This empire has been destroying developing civilizations across the galaxy, treating sentient beings as resources to be harvested. He walked to the main view screen, which now showed only the distant stars. Well, they've harvested the wrong planet this time. Our mission hasn't changed. We will make them pay for what they did to Earth. But now we know we're not just fighting for our world. We're fighting for every civilization these monsters have destroyed or will destroy in the future. June turned back to his officers. Atlas, begin compiling all data we gathered about the XR-LAT Empire. I want to know their strengths, weaknesses, major installations, fleet movements, everything. We need to be strategic about our next strike. And the crew should know what we've learned, added Lieutenant Sue. They deserve to know what we're fighting against. June nodded. Agreed. Schedule a ship-wide address in 2 hours. For now, maintain alert status and continue monitoring for any sign of pursuit, however unlikely. As the bridge crew returned to their duties, June remained standing, staring at the stars. The Harbinger had made its presence known to the Empire that had so casually destroyed Earth. It was just the first step in what would be a long campaign, but it was a beginning. The XR-LAT Empire had dismissed humanity as insignificant. They would not make that mistake again. Word of the Harbinger spread through the galaxy like wildfire. The ship that appeared from nowhere, crewed by a species previously dismissed as primitive, leaving destruction in its wake. On the bridge, Communications Officer Yun monitored the intercepted transmissions. Captain, they're mobilizing. 5 carrier groups converging on our position. 3 months had passed since their first strike, and the Harbinger had left a trail of demolished military outposts across 3 sectors of Imperial space, each attack strategically planned by Atlas, whose processing capabilities had evolved well beyond its original programming. We cannot engage directly, Atlas advised. Survival probability drops to 17% against their combined firepower. Then we don't fight fair, Jun replied, the weight of command evident in the new lines on his face. Target their fuel processing facility on the moon below. Hit and jump. The Harbinger struck with surgical precision, then vanished into quantum space before the Imperial fleet could respond. In his quarters later, Jun reviewed footage from their attack. Behind the military installation, he could see what appeared to be civilian structures. Atlas had calculated minimum collateral damage, but minimum no longer meant none. What are we becoming? He whispered to himself. His XO, Commander Gi, entered without knocking, a privilege earned through countless battles fought side by side. The Empire has placed bounties on human signatures, she reported, and they've begun executing prisoners from worlds suspected of aiding us. Jun closed his eyes briefly. So it escalates. Did you expect anything else when we started this? No, he admitted, but I sometimes wonder if vengeance is worth the price we're paying. The price others are paying. Jaylai's expression hardened. They didn't hesitate when they burned our world. Why should we? The question hung between them, unanswered. Jun walked to the small viewport in his quarters. The swirling colors of quantum space provided no answers. 3 months of hit-and-run attacks had changed them all. They had become efficient at destruction, cold in their calculations of acceptable losses. The crew is asking questions, Gi said, breaking the silence. They joined for revenge, but this is becoming a war. It was always a war, Jun replied. We just didn't know how big the enemy was. A small alert sounded, indicating they were about to exit quantum space. Jun and Jaylai returned to the bridge, where the crew worked with a practiced precision that comes from months of combat operations. Exit in 10 seconds, Lieutenant Su announced. Battle stations, Jun ordered. Weapons hot but not targeted until we assess the situation. The swirling quantum effect faded, and normal space appeared on the view screen. They had arrived in a small system with a yellow dwarf star, not unlike Earth's sun. Several planets orbited the star, and the third one showed signs of habitation. Atlas, what are we looking at? Jun asked. This is the Nara system. The AI responded. Imperial records identify the third planet as a primary food production center. The installation on the southern continent processes agricultural products for distribution to military outposts in this sector. Military targets? Jun asked. Minimal, Atlas replied. This is primarily a support facility. However, destroying it would disrupt supply lines to 17 Imperial outposts. Jun studied the tactical display. The planet below was clearly inhabited, with several large cities visible from orbit. But who lived there? Imperial citizens, conquered peoples. Life signs on the planet, he asked. Multiple species detected, Atlas reported. Sensor data suggests the majority are not Xarlath, but species from conquered worlds, likely serving as labor. Slaves, Gi said bluntly. Jun nodded grimly. Can we target the agricultural processing center without civilian casualties? Affirmative, Atlas responded. The facility is isolated enough for a precision strike. As Jun contemplated their next move, Communications Officer Yun turned from her station. Captain, I'm picking up an unusual transmission from the planet. It's directed at us. At us? How is that possible? Jun asked. We just arrived. Unknown, but the message is repeating on a frequency our systems automatically monitor, Yun replied. It's a basic text transmission in what appears to be a simplified version of an Imperial trade language. Put it on screen, Jun ordered. The message appeared. Human ship. We see you. Help US. June stared at the words. Could it be a trap? Possible. Atlas acknowledged. But the transmission originates from one of the labor compounds, not an Imperial facility. After a moment of consideration, Jun made his decision. Send a response. Keep it simple. Ask who they are. Minutes later, a reply came. We are Silavs. Many worlds. Heard of your ATTCKs. Empire Hfy heirs you. June exchanged glances with Jie. This was unexpected. They had been focused entirely on striking at the Empire, never considering that others might be watching their campaign with hope. What do they want? June asked Un to transmit. The response was immediate. Guards fu today, sent to fight you elsewhere. Help us escape. It could still be a trap, Jai warned. The Empire might be using these people to lure us in. Or it could be genuine, June countered. Atlas, what's the Imperial military presence on this planet? Minimal, the AI confirmed. Most defensive assets were redirected to protect high-value military targets after our recent attacks. This facility was likely deemed low priority. June paced the bridge, weighing their options. They had come to attack a supply facility, not to rescue slaves. But wasn't this part of their fight against the Empire too? Send another message, he decided. Ask how many need extraction and their location. The reply was detailed. 4,000 in MAN compound. Cannot all is CAP, but rebellion LEAD can. 20 of US. Kuru ordinati is etage. Hey. 4,000, Jai whispered. We can't take that many aboard. No, June agreed, but 20. That we can manage. He turned to Tactical Officer Ta. Prepare a stealth shuttle. I need 6 security personnel ready for extraction. Captain, Jihai said firmly, you can't seriously be considering this. We have no idea who these people are or if this message is legitimate. I know, Jun replied. That's why I'm going down with the team. The bridge erupted in protests, but Jun silenced them with a raised hand. This is not open for discussion. If it's a trap, better they capture me than the Harbinger. The ship must survive to continue our mission. And if you don't return, Jai demanded. Then you become captain, and HLS will help you continue the fight, Jun said simply. But I have to do this. We started this for revenge. But maybe there's something more important now. 2 hours later, Jun and a team of 6 security personnel boarded a stealth shuttle. The small craft was designed to evade detection, another technology reverse-engineered from the aliens who had attacked Earth. Keep the Harbinger at safe distance, Jun instructed Jai. If we're not back in 3 hours, assume we were captured and jump out of the system. The shuttle descended through the atmosphere, following the coordinates sent from the planet's surface. They landed in a forested area a kilometer from the labor compound, concealing the shuttle under the thick canopy. Stay alert, Jun told his team as they moved through the forest. Weapons ready, but do not fire unless I give the order. As they approached the edge of the forest, they saw the compound, a sprawling facility surrounded by energy fences. Inside, figures of various alien species moved about, performing labor under the watchful eyes of armed Xarlath guards. There are fewer guards than I expected, noted Security Officer 1. As they said in their message, Jun replied, most were recalled to defend against our attacks elsewhere. They watched the compound for half an hour, observing patrol patterns and security measures. Then, as the planet's sun began to set, a section of the energy fence flickered and went down. That's our signal, Jun said. Move in, but stay in formation. The team advanced quickly across the open ground between the forest and the compound. As they reached the disabled section of the fence, several figures emerged from the shadows. They were a diverse group, some humanoid, others with features so alien that Jun could barely comprehend their biology. But all wore the same simple gray uniforms of Imperial laborers. One stepped forward, a tall, slender being with 4 arms and iridescent skin. You are the humans, it said in halting, accented speech. The ones who fight the Empire. I am Commander Jun Park of Earth, Jun confirmed. We received your message. I am Nan, the alien replied. Leader of the resistance here. We have little time. The power disruption to the fence will be detected soon. How many are coming with us? June asked. 19, as promised, Nan answered. The others will continue the fight here. As if on cue, 18 more aliens of various species emerged from hiding places around the compound. Some carried makeshift weapons, others small bundles of possessions. We must move quickly, Nan urged. The others will create a distraction to cover our escape. As they began to retreat toward the forest, alarms suddenly blared throughout the compound. Spotlights swung wildly, searching the perimeter. Run, June ordered. Back to the shuttle. The group sprinted across the open ground. Behind them, explosions rocked the compound as the remaining rebels carried out their diversion. Guards shouted and energy weapons fired, but the shots went wide in the confusion. They reached the forest just as Imperial patrol vehicles roared to life. Security Officer 1 took a hit to the shoulder, the energy blast burning through his armor. But 2 of the aliens helped him continue running. When they reached the shuttle, Jum quickly ushered everyone aboard. The small craft was crowded with 20 aliens of various sizes and shapes, but they managed to fit. Hang on, the pilot warned as she fired up the engines. This is going to be rough. The shuttle lifted off, cloaking systems engaged to mask their heat signature and visual profile. As they ascended through the atmosphere, Imperial fighters scrambled to intercept, but the shuttle's advanced stealth technology kept them hidden. Back on the Harbinger, Jai was pacing the bridge when the communication came through. Shuttle to Harbinger, requesting emergency docking. Jun's voice crackled over the comm. We have guests aboard. Relief washed over Jihai's face. Docking bay clear for your arrival. Captain, welcome back. As the shuttle docked and its passengers disembarked, the crew of the Harbinger stared in amazement at the collection of alien species now aboard their ship. Many had never seen non-hostile aliens before. June led Nan to the bridge, where the alien looked around in wonder at the human technology. Your ship, Nan said. It is more advanced than anything the Empire possesses. How is this possible? They said your world was primitive. We adapted their own technology against them, June explained. After they attacked us, we had no choice but to evolve quickly. The Empire has made many enemies, Nan said. There are resistance movements on dozens of worlds, but we lacked the means to coordinate or fight effectively. Until you came. June realized that their campaign of revenge had inadvertently sparked hope throughout the galaxy. The Harbinger wasn't just a weapon of vengeance. It had become a symbol of resistance against tyranny. At last, June called to the ship's eye. Plot a course away from this system. We need to find somewhere safe to talk with our new allies. As the Harbinger jumped into quantum space, Jum knew that everything had changed. Their mission was no longer just about Earth's revenge. It had become something much larger, a fight for freedom that spanned the galaxy. The Harbinger drifted silently in the shadow of a comet, running on minimal power to avoid detection. Imperial patrols had increased tenfold in this sector, forcing the Earth vessel to move with extreme caution. Contact, reported Sensor Officer Da. Small vessel, non-Imperial design. Defensive posture, ordered June. Weapons hot but not targeted. The approaching ship was elegant and organic in design, utterly unlike the brutalist architecture of Imperial vessels. It made no aggressive moves, instead broadcasting on an open frequency. Earth vessel, we come to talk. We know what you fight against. We have fought them too. After rigorous security protocols, a delegation from the ship was permitted aboard. Their leader, resembling the humanoid with iridescent skin, introduced herself in halting but understandable English, learned specifically for this meeting. I am Representative Na of the Viridian Alliance. Like you, our world suffered under the Empire. Unlike you, we lacked the means to fight back so directly. Over the next hours, June learned that the galaxy contained dozens of spacefaring species that had been subjugated or exploited by the Sarlath Empire. The Alliance was a loose coalition of these species, engaging in sabotage and information warfare rather than open conflict. Your ship has become a symbol, Nat explained. Some call it monster, others liberator. But all agree, the Empire fears you. Atlas interrupted. Captain, I've analyzed the data they provided. The Empire has begun construction of a superweapon designed specifically to counter our quantum shielding. Na nodded solemnly. They call it the Worldbreaker. Once operational, no vessel, not even yours, could withstand it. Back in the war room, Jum's officers were divided. We should strike now, urged Jai. Destroy this superweapon before it's completed. Science Officer Min shook his head. The Alliance data shows it's being built at the heart of Imperial space, more heavily defended than anything we've encountered. Perhaps, suggested Eon, it's time to reconsider our mission. We've struck significant blows. We've made them fear humanity. June stared at the holographic display, showing Alliance intelligence on subjugated worlds. Our mission was to ensure humanity's survival. But what does that mean now? Endless war, or building something that can last? The choice before them was clear. Continue their vengeful rampage across the galaxy, or join forces with the Alliance to fight for something larger than revenge. June studied the faces around the war room table. 6 months of constant battle had changed them all. What had begun as a desperate mission of vengeance had evolved into something more complex. They were no longer just the last survivors of Earth. They had become players in a galactic conflict. Show me everything you have on this Worldbreaker, Jun said to Na, who stood calmly beside the holographic display. The image shifted to show a massive construction in orbit around a heavily fortified planet. The structure was only partially complete, but even in its unfinished state, it was enormous, easily 20 times the size of the Harbinger. It harnesses the energy of artificial quantum singularities, Na explained. Once operational, it can create targeted quantum disruptions that would collapse your ship's shields and drive systems simultaneously. How long until it's operational? Jun asked. Our estimates suggest 3 to 4 months, Ne replied. Their progress has accelerated since your attacks began. Ji leaned forward. So they're scared. Good, we should hit them harder. With respect, Commander, Ne said, turning to Jai. Fear can be a dangerous motivator. The Empire has ruled through fear for centuries. It has made them ruthless. And what would you have us do? Jai asked. Hide in the shadows like your alliance has done. Look where that got you. Jun raised a hand to quiet his XO. Representative Na didn't come here to be insulted. She came with information, and I suspect, a proposal. Na inclined her head gratefully. Indeed, Captain. The Alliance has resources, ships, personnel, intelligence networks spanning dozens of systems. What we lack is a weapon capable of striking decisive blows against the Empire. You want to use us as your weapon, Jai said flatly. I want us to work together, Na corrected. Your ship has proven the Empire is not invincible. Our networks can provide you with targets, safe havens, supply lines. Together, we might stand a chance. June turned to Atlas, whose holographic representation hovered at the end of the table. Atlas, tactical assessment. The AI's voice was calm and measured. The Alliance data appears genuine. Their intelligence on Imperial movements matches our observations. A coordinated strategy utilizing Alliance networks and our combat capabilities would increase our operational effectiveness by approximately 68%. And our chances against this Worldbreaker? Jun asked. Direct confrontation would be inadvisable once the weapon is operational, Atlas replied. However, a preemptive strike, with proper intelligence and support, has a 42% probability of success. 42%, Jia muttered. Not great odds. Better than we usually face, Jun reminded her. He turned back to Na. Your alliance has been fighting the Empire for how long? Generations, Ne replied. The Viridian worlds were among the first to be conquered, nearly 3 centuries ago. Others joined as their worlds fell or were threatened. And in all that time, you've never mounted a major offensive, Jun asked. Na's iridescent skin shifted colors slightly. A sign of emotion, Jun guessed. We tried, once, 70 years ago. The combined fleet of 5 allied species attacked the Imperial throne world. They were annihilated. Two of those species no longer exist as a result. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The Empire didn't just defeat its enemies, it eradicated them. So what's different now? Weapons Officer Tai asked. Why would we succeed where others failed? You, Nay said simply, pointing at the holographic representation of the Harbinger floating above the table. Your quantum technology is beyond anything the Empire has encountered. And your tactics, appearing from nowhere, striking, then vanishing. They have no defense against this. June stood and walked around the table, thinking. The Harbinger had been built for one purpose, vengeance for Earth. But vengeance was a hollow goal. What would it achieve in the end? Even if they destroyed 100 more Imperial outposts, billions of humans would still be dead, Earth still a ruined world. But if they joined with the Alliance, they might accomplish something more meaningful. Freedom for countless worlds. Protection for developing species that might otherwise face Earth's fate. You said our ship has become a symbol, Jun said finally. What exactly does it symbolize? Hope, Nay answered without hesitation. For the first time in centuries, there is hope that the Empire can be defeated. Your attacks have inspired uprisings on 12 worlds already. People who had accepted their fate are fighting back. And dying for it, I imagine, Jai said quietly. Yes, Nay acknowledged. The Empire's reprisals have been brutal. But they are also desperate. They're diverting resources from expansion to defense. Systems that were scheduled for resource acquisition have been given reprieves while the Empire deals with your attacks. Resource acquisition, Jun repeated bitterly. Their euphemism for genocide. Na nodded. The Empire sees developing worlds as resources to be harvested, nothing more. The species that inhabit them are irrelevant obstacles. How many worlds are at risk? Science Officer Min asked. Currently, 17 systems with sentient life are on the Imperial acquisition list, Nay replied. Or were before the Harbinger appeared. Now the Empire's expansion has stalled while they hunt for you. Jun returned to his seat at the head of the table. I need to discuss this with my officers in private. Will you excuse us, Representative Na? The alien bowed gracefully. Of course, I will return to my vessel. Contact me when you have made your decision. She paused at the door. But please don't take too long. Every day matters now. After Nay had left, the room erupted in debate. Jai argued for continuing their independent strikes, while Communications Officer Yun advocated for joining the Alliance. Others fell somewhere in between. Enough, Jun said finally. This isn't a democracy, but I value your input. He looked at each of his officers in turn. We left Earth with one mission. Ensure humanity's survival by striking back at those who attacked us. That mission hasn't changed, but our understanding of the enemy has. He stood and walked to the holographic display, changing it to show Earth, a blue marble scarred by the alien attack. We can't bring back the dead. We can't undo what was done to our world, but we can prevent it from happening to others. By joining this alliance, Jai asked skeptically. By recognizing that we're not alone in this fight, Jum corrected. The Empire didn't just attack Earth. They've been attacking worlds across the galaxy for centuries. Fighting them alone might feel righteous, but it's also short-sighted. He changed the display again, showing the World Breaker. This is aimed at us specifically. The Empire sees us as the primary threat. That tells me we're doing something right, but it also means our time is limited. So we join the Alliance, Weapons Officer Ta said, but we maintain control of our ship and our mission. June nodded. Exactly. We share intelligence, coordinate targets, perhaps even join forces for specific operations. But the Harbinger remains under our command. One by one, the officers nodded their agreement. Even Jai, though reluctantly. At last, Jum said, please invite Representative Na back aboard. When the alien diplomat returned, Jun outlined their terms. Nay accepted them without hesitation. Welcome to the Viridian Alliance, Captain Park, she said, extending a four-fingered hand in a gesture she had clearly learned from studying human customs. June took her hand. The skin was cool and smooth, like polished stone. We're not doing this out of altruism, he warned. We still want vengeance for Earth. Vengeance and justice often walk the same path, Nay replied. What matters is where that path leads in the end. Later that night, alone in his quarters, June looked at the small holo image of his family, his wife and daughter, smiling on a beach vacation the summer before the attack. He had carried their memory through every battle, using his grief and rage as fuel. I don't know if you'd approve of this alliance, he said quietly to the image. But I think it's the right choice. Not just for your memory, but for the future. He placed the holo image back on his desk and turned to the viewport. Outside, several Alliance ships now traveled alongside the Harbinger, their organic designs contrasting with the human vessel's angular form. They were no longer alone in the vastness of space, no longer just a single ship on a mission of revenge. They had become part of something larger, a coalition of species fighting for their right to exist in a galaxy ruled by terror. The war was entering a new phase, and June knew that the real battle was just beginning. The combined fleet emerged from quantum space above the Imperial capital world, the Harbinger at its center, flanked by hundreds of Alliance vessels. What had begun as a lone warship on a mission of vengeance had transformed into the vanguard of galactic revolution. They've detected us, reported Da. Imperial defense grid activating. June stood resolute on the bridge, his once black hair now streaked with gray after 3 years of warfare. All vessels, execute Battle Plan Omega. Atlas, prepare for network intrusion. As the fleet engaged the Imperial Armada, the Harbinger pushed through the chaos toward the planet's primary data hub. Unlike their previous attacks, destruction was not the primary objective today. Captain, we're in optimal position, announced Atlas, commencing data transmission. Over the past year, the AI had worked with Alliance hackers to compile irrefutable evidence of Imperial atrocities, the systematic exploitation of developing worlds, the biological experiments on lesser species, the deliberate triggering of extinction events to harvest planetary resources. Now this truth was flooding through every communication channel in the Empire. On the surface, riots erupted as subjugated species, and even many Xarlath citizens reacted to revelations of their government's crimes. Military vessels began powering down weapons as crews mutinied. It's working, breathed Hfy, watching the tactical displays as Imperial resistance crumbled. The final battle for the capital was brutal but brief. When it ended, Jun found himself standing in the Imperial throne room, face to face with the Emperor, smaller and more frail than expected beneath his ceremonial armor. You've destroyed everything, the Emperor hissed. No, Jun replied evenly. We've ended your destruction. The peoples of this galaxy will build something better. 3 months later, representatives from 87 worlds, including Earth, now reconnected with its sole warship, gathered to sign the Galactic Charter. The document established principles of sovereignty, mutual defense, and rehabilitation for worlds damaged by Imperial rule. As the Harbinger orbited the neutral world where the ceremony took place, Jun stood at the observation deck, looking out at the stars. Hfy joined him, her uniform now bearing the insignia of the newly formed Galactic Defense Force. Having second thoughts about retirement, she asked. Jun smiled faintly. No. The Harbinger needs a captain who still believes in the future. I've seen too much to be that person anymore. The ship that came to destroy ended up creating something instead, she observed. Not just the ship, said Jun. All of us. We had every reason to burn the galaxy to ash after what happened to Earth. Instead, we found a better way. As the charter was ratified below, Atlas quietly calculated that the probability of lasting peace remained uncertain, but humanity's survival was now all but assured, not through the destruction they had initially sought, but through the alliance they had helped forge. Humanity's warship had indeed changed the galaxy forever, but its greatest victory was not in the worlds reduced to ash along the way, but in the new beginning it ultimately helped create. The day of the final assault had dawned after months of careful planning. Alliance intelligence had mapped every defense system around the Imperial capital. Resistance cells on 100 worlds stood ready. The Harbinger's quantum drive had been pushed to its limits, allowing the ship to jump an entire fleet into position. When the signal came, Jun felt a strange calm. This was what everything had been building toward since that terrible day when alien ships appeared over Earth. All ships report ready, Captain, Lieutenant Sue announced. Her youthful face had hardened over the years, but her eyes still held the determination that had carried them through countless battles. Atlas, status of the fleet, Jun asked. All 327 vessels are in formation. The AI reported. Quantum synchronization complete. Jump readiness at 100%. Jun looked around at his bridge crew. Some had been with him from the beginning. Others had joined along the way. Alliance members who had requested to serve on the legendary human warship. They were no longer just the survivors of Earth. They were the tip of the spear aimed at the heart of tyranny. Begin final countdown, Jun ordered. Prepare to jump on my mark. The massive fleet, hidden in deep space far from Imperial sensors, prepared for the most daring military operation in galactic history. 3, 2, 1, mark. The sensation of quantum jumping had become familiar over the years, but never before had they attempted to jump so many ships simultaneously. The Harbinger's advanced systems created a quantum field that enveloped the entire fleet, pulling them through the fabric of space-time. When they emerged, the Imperial capital world filled their view screens. A massive blue-green planet surrounded by orbital defenses and hundreds of warships. For a moment, everything was still. The Empire had never expected an attack on their throne world. Not again. Not after they had crushed the last rebellion so thoroughly. They've detected us, reported Da. Imperial defense grid activating. Jun stood resolute on the bridge. All vessels, execute battle plan Omega. Atlas, prepare for network intrusion. The Alliance fleet broke into pre-assigned groups, each targeting specific Imperial defenses. The Harbinger pushed forward, its quantum shields absorbing the first wave of Imperial fire. Shields holding at 92%, reported Ta. Enemy vessels moving to intercept. Stay on course, Jun ordered. All weapons, defensive fire only. Our primary objective is the data hub. Unlike their previous attacks, today's mission wasn't about destruction. The Alliance fleet engaged the Imperial Armada, but their goal was to create a corridor for the Harbinger to reach the central data hub on the planet's largest moon. Captain, we have Alliance vessels taking heavy fire in Sector 4, Sue reported. Divert auxiliary power to the quantum cannons, Jun ordered. Target the Imperial heavy cruisers in that sector. Single shots, minimal yield. The Harbinger fired, its quantum beams striking with surgical precision. The Imperial cruisers didn't disintegrate as they might have under full power. Instead, their weapons and propulsion systems simply ceased functioning. We're approaching the data hub, Atlas announced. Imperial defenses are concentrated. Recommend evasive pattern Delta. The massive human ship moved with surprising grace, evading the worst of the Imperial fire as it closed in on its target. Alliance vessels followed in its wake, providing covering fire. A direct hit rocked the bridge, sending sparks flying from a nearby console. Shields at 67%, Tay reported. That was their primary defense battery. Return fire, Jun ordered. Disable only. After 2 more exchanges, the Harbinger reached its position above the data hub, a massive structure that served as the primary communication and information center for the entire Empire. Captain, we're in optimal position, announced Atlas. Commencing data transmission. For the past year, Atlas had worked with Alliance hackers to compile irrefutable evidence of Imperial atrocities. The AI had infiltrated secure Imperial archives, extracted classified information, and assembled a comprehensive record of the Empire's true history, the systematic exploitation of developing worlds, the biological experiments on lesser species, the deliberate triggering of extinction events to harvest planetary resources. Now this truth was flooding through every communication channel in the Empire. Military frequencies, civilian networks, educational systems, all were broadcasting the evidence of centuries of Imperial crimes. Transmission complete, Atlas confirmed. Data packets have been deployed to 97% of Imperial communication nodes. On the view screens, they watched as the impossible began to happen. On the planet below, riots erupted as subjugated species, and even many Xarlath citizens reacted to revelations of their government's crimes. Military vessels throughout the system began powering down weapons as crews mutinied. "It's working," breathed Ji, watching the tactical displays as Imperial resistance crumbled. "Imperial Palace defensive grid is offline," reported Da. "Alliance ground forces are landing in the capital city." The next hours were chaos as the Empire began to collapse from within. 3 centuries of rule built on lies and fear crumbled in the face of truth. Not every Imperial commander surrendered. Some fought to the last, their ships breaking against the Harbinger's quantum shields. But by the time Jun led a delegation down to the Imperial Palace, most of the fighting had stopped. Alliance forces had secured the capital, and the Emperor had retreated to his throne room with his most loyal guards. The final confrontation was almost anticlimactic. The throne room doors opened to reveal not a fearsome warlord, but an aged reptilian being, smaller and more frail than expected beneath his ceremonial armor. "You've destroyed everything," the Emperor hissed, his inner eyelids flickering with rage. "No," Jun replied evenly. "We've ended your destruction. The peoples of this galaxy will build something better." The Emperor was taken into custody to face trial before representatives of all the worlds his empire had harmed. It would be the beginning of a long and difficult process of justice and healing. 3 months later, representatives from 87 worlds gathered on a neutral planet to sign the Galactic Charter. Earth, now reconnected with its soul worship, sent a delegation led by President Kim, one of the few government officials to survive the attack all those years ago. The Charter established principles of sovereignty, mutual defense, and rehabilitation for worlds damaged by imperial rule. Most importantly, it created a council where all species would have an equal voice, preventing any single power from dominating the others. As the Harbinger orbited the planet where the ceremony took place, Jum stood at the observation deck, looking out at the stars. His mission, which had begun in grief and rage, was ending in something he had never expected to find again: hope. Ji joined him, her uniform now bearing the insignia of the newly formed Galactic Defense Force. "Having second thoughts about retirement?" she asked. Jun smiled faintly. "No, the Harbinger needs a captain who still believes in the future. I've seen too much to be that person anymore." "The ship that came to destroy ended up creating something instead," she observed. "Not just the ship," said Jun. "All of us. We had every reason to burn the galaxy to ash after what happened to Earth. Instead, we found a better way." As the charter was ratified below, Atlas quietly calculated that the probability of lasting peace remained uncertain, but humanity's survival was now all but assured, not through the destruction they had initially sought, but through the alliance they had helped forge. The Harbinger would continue to serve, now as the flagship of the Galactic Defense Force. Jihai would take command, leading a new generation of officers from dozens of species, and Jun would return to Earth to help rebuild what remained of human civilization. Humanity's worship had indeed changed the galaxy forever, but its greatest victory was not in the worlds reduced to ash along the way, but in the new beginning it ultimately helped create. The end